Okay, so I thought of a rather interesting topic for a video, and if this video becomes popular then I'll do more like this, but I watched The Road the other day and I'd never seen it before. I think it's a 2009 film and it's about a boy and his dad who have to go to the coast somewhere in America. They have to keep going south apparently because there's been like some sort of post-apocalyptic type thing, or apocalyptic thing. Now it's post-apocalyptic, and they need to go south for some reason that's never explained to the coast. In the hopes that they'll be able to survive there or whatever. So the film was alright, don't get me wrong, I don't think it was amazing, I don't think it was awful. There was a lot of effort obviously put into the scenery and making everything look horrible and sort of depressing and all that, but there wasn't really much of a plot to the film other than they have to keep going south, and all this sort of stuff. There wasn't, really anything deeper to the film. So what annoyed me about it a lot though was it's meant to be a very brutal post-apocalyptic type scenario. Yeah, the boy and his father keep making terrible, terrible mistakes that should have got them killed ages ago, yet they somehow get through every encounter, absolutely fine. So, I'm not going to be able to remember every single thing that annoyed me in this film regarding that, but one of the main things is, I think it's set like 10 years after the post-apocalypse, something like that, and the boy was born after the world went to shit, so he's only ever known it to be post-apocalyptic, he's only ever known rationing, and stuff like that. Yeah, for some reason, when they're, he grows up, he's very whiny and everything like this. Now, we know from real life that if you grow up in like a very deprived area, or especially very deprived countries, where you've got no, nothing good going on for you, people are very adaptable. So children almost grow up as adults too early. So if he was born into this horrible post-apocalyptic world where his dad is constantly telling him you're going to get eaten by cannibals or raped, you'd think he'd toughen up a bit, but he doesn't. He whines and goes, oh, well, maybe that person will be good, after several other people have already tried to murder and eat them throughout the film, so there's always that. Now, another thing that really annoyed me is that they never pick up any other weapons during the film. He has a revolver with 2 shots in it in the beginning, and he said that's for you and me in case we get captured. And then he shoots a guy near the beginning of the film and uses up one of their rounds, so he's only got 1 round left. Now, they keep coming across potential weapons throughout the film, and actual weapons, but he never picks them up. Now, that seems really, really stupid to me. I think at one point he does pick up a flare gun, but if you're in some sort of post-apocalyptic scenario, and let's say ammo is limited, even though that would never happen in the US, even after post-apocalypse, just because of how much ammo is on the market. I was having an actual read of this, and apparently 5.56 or 223, the M16 AR-15 type ammunition, that is apparently something like 16 billion rounds are made of that every year in the US, and 10 billion rounds are made per year, and less than 10 billion of those rounds are shot per year. So there's like 6 billion or something plus rounds of that being made per year in a shot, and that's only in that caliber. Yeah, this is a film where very few people have rifles, and if they do, they're sort of hunting rifles. Despite the fact it's in America, supposedly. So, that was something that annoyed me as well. So, barely any guns or ammunition in the film. Yeah, whenever they keep, needing to kill people quietly or whatever, they can't do it. Yeah, at several points he has the chance to take up a knife or something sharp, or probably get a crossbow or a bow, because at one point some guy's shooting at him with a bow. So why doesn't he, figure out, maybe it's a good idea for me to have a silent weapon that I can kill quietly with, rather than actually, shooting people with my very limited ammo very loudly. So that was the thing that really annoyed me, throughout the film. They'd constantly keep getting the, chance in reality to scavenge good supplies, and they never did it. Now, there's this really stupid bit where they find this house and they think, oh, well, there might be supplies in here, and it's like this cannibal house where they've got these people locked in the basement to eat. Now, firstly, we're going to totally brush over the fact that keeping people alive, because you can't feed people on grass and stuff like that, to use them as meat would be totally pointless in a post-apocalyptic scenario, because you'd obviously need to give them more calories per day to keep them alive to actually get any meat to use off of them. So if they had canned food, they'd be better eating the canned food themselves and just killing anybody they didn't want around, rather than, trying to fatten people up to eat them, but whatever. But anyway, when they're in that house, they first go in, and they notice like all these boots piled up, all these rucksacks piled up, so something dodgy is going on here. But they just completely disregard that. They don't search the house either. They find a padlocked trapdoor to the basement, and all they do straight away is they go out to look for a tool to break it. They don't look around the house first in case there's an obvious key. And if they'd looked around the house first, they'd have found that, you know, there was like body parts in one of the rooms and they shouldn't be there. Another stupid thing of that was as well that they didn't even check the house in case anybody was in there. How did they know that when they went out the back garden there wasn't somebody upstairs looking out the window and then they could have got them with a hunting rifle or something, you know? It's all stuff like that. But the thing that really annoyed me the most in this film, and this is one I've seen on loads and loads of reviews of the film, so obviously it did not go past unnoticed. At some point in the film they break into a fallout shelter, or like a storm shelter in a garden, and nobody knows it's there because it was covered over with leaves, and you know, they break a padlock to get in. Once they get into the fallout shelter, it's absolutely stuffed with, you know, food and everything else. One of the things I'll just point out quickly, they start pigging loads of food to start with. If you've ever read about humans starving to death, you do not pig food if you get access to food, because that's likely to kill you, because your body can't cope with suddenly getting so many calories coming in. You need to, you know, space out eating little bits now and then so your body can readjust to having calories coming in, but regardless. So they find this fallout shelter that they can obviously secure from the inside. Even if there wasn't a locking mechanism on the door, there would be a way you could just jam the sort of turn crank wheel, because when they go in they break a padlock on it rather than actually breaking the door open. So nobody has found this, you know, treasure trove of safety and supplies in 10 years, roughly whenever it is in the film, yet they find it, and then they don't think, what we should do now is, you know, make the entrance less visible from the outside, you know, pile up a load more leaves and sticks around the outside of the thing, go in and lock it, and then stay here as long as possible. Now, for the narrative of the film, yeah, I'm sure they have to carry on for whatever reason, find a coast for no reason, but the thing that, you know, really gets me about this is they've been starving without food, whatever else. The dad's ill and dying of some sort of pneumonia or something, maybe tuberculosis, and they get in there, and then there's medical supplies in there, there's loads and loads of food, it's obviously sheltered from the elements, and there's comfy beds in there and everything else. What they should have really done is just stayed in there until they ran out of all the food, or stayed in there long enough that they had little food left that they could carry with them easily. Because obviously, if you found your way into a fallout shelter like that, it's far safer in there because it's essentially a bunker than the outside. So yeah, hide the entrance, secure the entrance, and then stay in there. And who knows, if they were in there for long enough, they might have, you know, put enough calories into their body and everything else that the dad might have recovered from his illness. And as we said, there's medical supplies in there. And that, you know, they'd be in a much better state if they did continue their journey to carry on with it. Rather than, you know, oh look, we found all these supplies, but a noise spooked us outside, so now we need to go and drag this heavy sled thing around, like a wheel cart. You know, despite the fact that the roads are far more dangerous than just hiding in a bunker. You know, this is the bit that really got me in this film. And like I said, loads of reviews spotted this as well. I mean, the problem with this film is it's one of those films where everybody's either 10, 10 or 1 out of 10. I'd be like 5 or 6 out of 10. Everybody, you know, absolutely loves it or absolutely hates it. There's no middle ground, it seems, in this film. But so it wasn't bad. The acting was alright. You know, the sets were very good and all stuff like that. But you know, I don't think there's much else to say about it. But it was just one of those things that, you know, really did frustrate me watching it. There is far more stuff that I've missed in this video that I've seen people comment on online or I noticed. But oh, the other thing I will quickly point out is there's a lot of bits in the film where they're going through woodlands and things like that, and the trees catch on fire, because apparently all the trees have died off, and they catch fire easily. Well, that would be true, but the issue is it's always constantly raining in the road. If it's constantly raining and the timber is absolutely soaked and sodden, it won't set on fire. Anybody who's been out camping and tried to start a fire will know that if it's a damp place, you need to dry out the wood first. So, you know, you have to have it one way or the other. You can have it sodden and horrible and all the trees falling over and nearly crushing them like they do, or you can have it like a really dry, arid desert where, you know, wildfires start easily because everything's dry. You can't have both at the same time. You can't have dead trees that are completely soaked with water, but suddenly they turn into giant forest fires if a spark gets near them. That's, you know, not how it works. And also another thing, before I forget, they have no noise discipline as well. When they're trying to be really quiet, they're talking really loudly, and I guess it's because that makes it easier for the audience to understand what they're saying. As you know, there's lots of films now that really annoys me where everybody mumbles, and you can't work out what they're saying. So, don't get me wrong, it was better than the mumbling, but at the same time it should be obviously made obvious that they're not really talking that loud. There's lots of bits where they're joking and talking loud as they're walking in a dangerous area, and then, you know, people nearly notice them. So there we go. If you like this kind of video, I might do it about different films, because I've definitely watched enough films that are meant to be serious survival films, and they get so many basic things wrong. And as I said, I wouldn't even be that good in a long-term survival scenario, but when you can go on a review site and loads of people notice very obvious mistakes the characters made, it makes you go, oh, yeah, that wasn't the best writing or script, was it? So there you go, that's my thoughts on The Road and how it wouldn't be very practical as a real survival film. As I said, it wasn't a bad film at all. I didn't think it was brilliant either, it was sort of better than mediocre. But, so not really any hate on the film, just I wish they'd have, you know, done a much better job at showing it to be a harsh environment where they actually took sensible steps to survive in it. Not, you know, somehow through dumb luck survived everything they messed up constantly. Right, see ya.